James Monroe was an American founding father who served as the fifth president of the United States from 1817 to 1825. He was the last founding father to serve as president, as well as the last of the Virginia dynasty. Okay, so founding fathers, James Monroe is the last one, as well as the last of the Virginia dynasty. It's a dynasty, that's something that reminds me of monarchies, where the father passes the crown to his son, and then, it's a hereditary dynasty where the crown is passed hereditarily onwards. And that's a stark contrast to the United States, which is not a monarchy in any way, which or form. So I am curious what that is. And I think that's curious. I haven't heard that term before. So he's the last of the Virginia dynasty. He was a member of the Democratic Republican Party. That's come up a few times with previous presidents. And his presidency coincided with the era of good feelings. Interesting. In concluding the first party system of American politics, he issued the Monroe Doctrine, a policy limiting European colonialism in the Americas. Monroe previously served as governor of Virginia, a member of the United States Senate, U.S. ambassador to France and Britain, the 7th Secretary of State, and the 8th Secretary of War. Monroe Doctrine, that's its own thing. It should be checked out. Let's take a look at a portrait before we continue. That's the guy. Kind of first black-haired president, or at least not wearing a wig or something. I feel like the founding fathers had these wigs. He doesn't, which is refreshing. During the American Revolutionary War, he served in the Continental Army. Monroe studied law under Thomas Jefferson from 1780 to 1783, and subsequently served as a delegate to the Continental Congress, as well as a delegate to the Virginia Ratifying Convention. He opposed the ratification, which means, if you're not sure what it means, ratification is the act of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty or agreement, making it officially valid. So making something valid or legitimate. He opposed the ratification of the United States Constitution. Opposed it. In 1790, Monroe won election to the Senate, where he became the leader of the Democratic Republican Party. He left the Senate in 1794 to serve as President George Washington's ambassador to France, but was recalled by Washington in 1796. Monroe won the election as governor of Virginia, strongly supported Jefferson's candidacy in the 1800 presidential election. As President Jefferson's special envoy, Monroe helped negotiate the Louisiana Purchase, which was the acquisition of the territory of Louisiana. Nowadays we have the state. Back in those days, I reckon it was this large territory. You can see it extends north to south, from the border of Canada all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, which as of now is, I guess, the Gulf of America. This was purchased from. It doesn't say here in the tidbit, but maybe we'll do a video about that and read more about it. He negotiated the purchase through which the United States nearly doubled in size. Monroe fell out with longtime friends James Madison, which was the previous president, after Madison rejected the Monroe Pinckney Treaty, which I don't know what that is. It's its own thing. It was a treaty drawn up in 1806 by diplomats of the United States and the United Kingdom. I don't understand what the significance of that is. He unsuccessfully challenged Madison for the Democratic-Republican nomination in the 1808 presidential election, but he joined Madison's administration as Secretary of State. During the later stages of the War of 1812, Monroe simultaneously served as Madison's Secretary of State and Secretary of War. So they're like not getting along, but Monroe is serving in his administrations. Monroe's wartime leadership established him as Madison's heir apparent. Interesting. So they go from being like falling out to becoming the heir apparent. And he easily defeated Federalist candidate Rufus King in the 1816 presidential election. All right. During Monroe's tenure as president, now we're getting into the presidency. The Federalist Party collapsed, and as a national political force, and Monroe was reelected virtually unopposed in 1820 as president. So in those days, let's pause. In those days, there was a Federalist Party. Nowadays, we have a Republican Party, Democrat Party. In those days, there was a Republican, Democrat Party, and a Federalist Party. And when he was going for election, the Federalist Party collapsed for some reason I don't understand. And he ran unopposed. As president, he signed the Missouri Compromise, which rings a bell. Let's see. Missouri Compromise was a federal legislation of the United States that balanced the desire of northern states to prevent the expansion of slavery. I'm confused. Missouri was a federal legislation, something that they wanted to pass federally, that balanced the desires of northern states to prevent, so they're opposing slavery in the country, with those that want to expand it. So it's something that has to do with like opposing and preventing slavery. So not opposing and preventing, rather opposing and expanding. And there was some sort of compromise. Okay, so as president, he signed the compromise, which admitted Missouri as a slave state and banned slavery's north of this parallel. Interesting. In foreign affairs, Monroe and Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, from the Adams family, favored a policy of conciliation with Britain and a policy of expansionism against the Spanish Empire. Did I mention we're in the beginning of the 19th century? This is modern era, beginning of the 19th century. Things are happening in the Europe as well. Of course, they are. In 1819, Adams-Onis Treaty with Spain, the United States secured Florida, big whoop, and established its western border with New Spain. New Spain doesn't exist, but look at that thing. That is New Spain. Wow, massive. It's that green thing, if you're seeing it. So he makes a treaty with New Spain. In 1823, Monroe announces the United States' opposition to any European intervention in the recently independent countries of the Americas with the Monroe Doctrine, which became a landmark in foreign policy. So let's break it down. The United States' opposition to any European intervention in the recently independent countries of the Americas. So, okay, I guess it's kind of clear. Monroe was a member of the American Colonization Society. What the hell is that? Never heard of that. Huh. I don't know what that means. Which supported the colonization of Africa by freed slaves and Liberia's capital. What a crazy idea. But almost, it's like, I don't even know where to begin. That's insane to me. Makes sense too. Let's open this on a new reading list. This American Colonization Society. Like they want to let's just read that little blurb quickly. The American Colonization Society, initially the Society for the Colonization of Free People of Color of America, was an American organization in 1816 founded by Robert Finley to encourage and support the repatriation of freeborn people and of color, which supported, so it's like repatriating slaves back to their homeland. Okay, let's keep going. Following his retirement in 1825, Monroe was plagued by financial difficulties and died in 1831 in New York City, sharing a distinction with President John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, dying on the anniversary of the U.S. independence. So he died on July 4th. Historians have generally marked him as an above-average president. All right, that was James Monroe.